Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the YouTube channel of EduAbroad, and welcome to our session today, All Australia Calling. So today we have a very interesting session. We have a student who has studied at Australia and now he's working there, Mr. Parth. He'll be joining us in the session today. So before we start, a very brief introduction. I'm Dr. Swati Mishra, founder director of EduAbroad, and I have done my PhD from University of Cambridge. I have done my master's from University of Cambridge and MIT in the US. I was a fully funded scholar. I was a CCT scholar. Apart from that, I have won many other scholarships. I was a DFID scholar and quite a few scholarships. I studied abroad completely free. So we have done various seminars on this topic as well, कि how you can study abroad completely free. But today आज का जो हमारा focus है वो इस पे है कि जो बच्चे ऑस्ट्रेलिया जाना चाहते हैं वो कैसे जा सकते हैं, क्या क्या होता है ऑस्ट्रेलिया, कैसी एक स्टडी डेस्टिनेशन है, और इस पे एक बहुत ही अच्छा इंसाइट और पर्सनल ओपिनियन लेकर हमारे साथ पार्थ जी भी जुड़ेंगे. तो एडियो अब्रॉड क्या है? एडियो अब्रॉड मैं जैसे मैंने बताया मैंने पीएचडी करी थी, उसके बाद आई केम बैक फ्रॉम यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ कैम्ब्रिज, देन आई केम बैक टू इंडिया. आई वर्कड हियर एज अ स्ट्रेटजी कंसल्टेंट. नाउ आई हैव माय ओन स्ट्रेटजी कंसल्टिंग फर्म एज वेल. और उसके साथ साथ मैंने आई अहमदाबाद में वर्क किया था, जहाँ पे मैंने वहाँ पे एमडीपी प्रोग्राम्स किए थे, वेयर आई ट्रेन्ड आईपीएस फेज 5 के लोगों को. I have worked with the Ministry of Home Affairs and Ministry of External Affairs as the external consultant for 6 Central Pay Commission. So I have experience across the government sector as well as private sector. And then I worked with IIM Lucknow as a professor in strategy management. So जब मैंने इतना मुझे जब एक्सपोजर मिला प्रोफेशनल लाइफ में, देन आई रियलाइज कि मेरा बहुत सारा इंटरेक्शन हुआ स्टूडेंट्स से. सो आई रियलाइज्ड कि स्टूडेंट्स को सही गाइडेंस नहीं मिल रहा है, दे वांट टू गो अब्रॉड, स्टडी अब्रॉड. सो मेनी स्टूडेंट्स यूज्ड टू कम टू मी कि मैम कैसे जा सकते हैं, एंड आई वाज हेल्पिंग देम. Since 2000 I am doing this. So I have helped a lot of students जो बाहर पढ़ने जाना चाहते थे, कैसे यूनिवर्सिटी सेलेक्ट करें, कैसे कोर्स सेलेक्ट करें. जैसे स्कॉलरशिप की मैंने अभी बात करी, तो कैसे वो उनको स्कॉलरशिप्स मिल सकती हैं. सो देन आई रियलाइज कि बच्चों को सही गाइडेंस नहीं मिल रहा है. So that's what motivated me to start EduAbroad, like a full professional startup, जिसमें कि अब हम स्टूडेंट्स को पूरा एंड टू एंड गाइड करते हैं कि कैसे वो पढ़ने बाहर जा सकते हैं, राइट फ्रॉम country selection, course selection, to how to apply for various universities, how to choose the right course, which is very important because Indian उसमें देखें तो बहुत ही different है अगर आप बाहर अप्लाई करते हैं तो. सो कैसे सेलेक्ट करना, उसके बाद भी कैसे आपको जो है स्कॉलरशिप्स के लिए अप्लाई करना है, कैसे अकोमोडेशन के लिए अप्लाई करना है, उसके बाद आप कैसे वहाँ पे सेटल होंगे, कल्चरल डिफरेंसेस बहुत हैं. तो हम पूरा एक एंड टू एंड सॉल्यूशन देते हैं स्टूडेंट्स को एट एडू अब्रॉड. तो उस और हम आप लोगों के लिए इंफॉर्मेटिव सेशंस भी लेकर आते हैं, जिसमें हम जो लोग और बाहर पढ़ चुके हैं उनके व्यूज लेकर आते हैं. हमारी एक संडे की सीरीज भी चल रही है, और आज हम ये वेबिनार भी इसीलिए कर रहे हैं जिससे अगर हम स्पेसिफिक डेस्टिनेशन जो बच्चे ऑस्ट्रेलिया जाना चाहते हैं उसके बारे में डिटेल जान सके कि कैसे जा सकते हैं, क्या कर सकते हैं. तो ये है हमारा आज का जो एजेंडा है, वो ये है. थोड़ा सा मैं शुरू में ऑस्ट्रेलिया के बारे में एक ब्रीफ आप लोगों को स्लाइड दूंगी, इंट्रोडक्शन दूंगी. उसके बाद जो है हम पार्थ जी से कुछ क्वेश्चंस पूछेंगे कि उनकी जर्नी कैसी रही. तो आइए शुरू करते हैं. एक मिनट, ये प्रेजेंटेशन, कैन यू सी माय स्क्रीन?
Not yet.
No. Okay. I think there's some issue on the screen. Sharing. सो एट एडी अब्रॉड हम आपको आईएलटीएस के लिए भी हेल्प करते हैं, या जो भी और एक वो होती है क्या कहते हैं टेस्ट प्रेप्स भी होती हैं, उस पे भी हेल्प करते हैं आपकी. और इस तरह के हम आपके बीच में वेबिनार्स और वो लेकर आते रहते हैं जिससे कि आपको इंफॉर्मेशन मिलती रहे इसके बारे में. Just trying to share the slides about Australia. There's some issue. Is it visible now?
No, no,
No?
no, sorry.
Okay, just a minute. So जब तक मैं कर रही हूँ पार्थ, just tell us about कि कैसे आपने decide किया ऑस्ट्रेलिया जाने के लिए, how been your journey
Sure.
so far?
So yeah,
Yeah,
it's been it feels like yesterday, but it's been like 16 years now that I
right.
decided to come to Australia, and I've been here since February 2008. So
Okay.
back then, essentially, I was quite an adventurous kid in the family. There was
Uh-huh.
not a single person from the family, ना कोई दोस्त जो ऑस्ट्रेलिया में था. And I thought,
Uh-huh.
why not explore another destination, and make
Right.
that my home going forward. The other thing back then also was that the permanent residency pathways, post graduation was extremely easy as well, and so it is
Right.
now as well, a little to an extent. But yeah, back
Yeah.
then it was extremely easy. So essentially, the plan was to settle here after I finished my studies. So that was the other thing. And Australia always, I think, to us Indians as well, when we look at Australia, when we think of Australia, it's got that very laid back attitude. It's got a sporting culture, as well as it's so multicultural that you don't ever feel out of place here.
Right.
So yeah, a lot of those things, it being so multifaceted, its renowned education system, which emphasizes on practical application, as well as to an extent the sporting culture here influenced me back then
Uh-huh.
to come here.
Right. 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 I think there's some problem with the presentation, but very briefly, I'll just tell you about Australia.
Sure.
So, Australia, why students, all the students who have joined us, so why one should go to Australia, and then Parth, you can pitch in and tell us more with your personal experience.
Sure.
So, as you rightly said, ki PR opportunity back then was also very good, and even till today, it's a very good study destination for PR. So, it's a very popular destination for Indian students. So, it has very good internationally ranked Australian university. Part-time job availability is also there, and then post-study work visa. Now, actually, with new rules coming up since July 2023, student can actually stay back and work there for up to 6 years as well.
That's
So then the pathway programs opportunity there for international students. All these reasons make it a very good international study destination. So major cities there are Sydney, Brisbane. I think Part, are you based out of Brisbane at the
I'm
moment,
based in
or
Brisbane. Yes, yeah. I've lived
Brisbane?
in
Yeah.
Brisbane essentially for the entirety of my Australian life. Yeah,
So
yeah.
since 2008, right?
8. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So Parth is from Griffith University, and it's a very good university. It's in Brisbane. So major cities there are Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne, Perth, and the major intake for students who want to go and study in Australia. The major intakes are in February and July. So these intakes are offered by most of the universities and private colleges there. Apart from there, there's a minor intake as well, which is in the month of October and November. So the system there, they have universities and then they have private colleges. So there are around 38 universities and private college universities as well. They offer program in almost all the areas, right from business to engineering, hospitality, media and communication. So all programs are available across academic lines. So and Parth, I think you have done engineering from there, right?
That's correct. Yeah, I studied environmental engineering. Yeah,
Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah. So how is Australia as a destination, Parth? If
it's
like for
amazing.
students who
Like,
go,
and I'm not just saying that, just for the purposes of this webinar, right? Like,
right?
to anyone that I meet, like every time I go back to India as well, to anyone I meet, I totally sell Australia as the place to be. Like, it's the lifestyle is great. It's so much more laid back than India. It's not a very fast
Mhm.
paced lifestyle. Uh,
Okay,
the
that's interesting.
focus, yeah, the focus on family is immense, right? So even
Wow.
post your studies and so on, when you start a family and everything, like,
Hmm.
Your workplace as well supports your family quite a bit, so your work life balance is a lot better than anywhere else. The traffic is
Right.
absolutely nil compared to India. So you get from place
Because
A
of
to
the
place
population,
B.
I guess.
Yeah, exactly,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's so multicultural, like and being in Australia, you not only learn about Australian history and culture, which isn't too old anyways, but you make Korean friends, you make Chinese friends, you make friends from Europe,
Yeah.
America.
Right.
And because of it being such a multicultural society, like you immerse yourself into so many different cultures that I can now
Right.
proudly say that, look, anywhere in the globe, you know, like if I go to at least about, say, 35 to 40% of the globe, I'd probably have some contact over there that I
Ah,
can lean on, you know, for accommodation or dinner or so on. Yeah,
right. So that's the beauty of studying abroad. You network with so many colleagues and
exactly.
peers, and then they are your friends and colleagues for life, actually.
That's
So
it,
yeah.
yeah. Because and especially when you surround yourself with a lot of other international students as well, right? Like, and
Right.
while you're here as an international student, apart from all the co-curricular activities and your studies, life obviously is quite difficult because you're away from home, you're working
Right.
part time as well, and the
Right.
friends you make during that difficult time, right? Like those friendships essentially last for life. Yeah,
Right, right. Yeah, they essentially do. Even we are in touch with so many, like as I said in EduAbroad, we have so many mentors, and they are all like from college days. So we have people who studied with us at Cambridge, and so we started this company. And we have mentors who are studying, who are working somewhere in the US or these big universities there, and they are part of our team. Yeah, so that's the thing. So I think basically you went after class 12th to
that's
study.
correct. Yes.
Right. So how did this idea, as you said, कि none of your family member have ever gone, not even your friends. So
Yeah.
कैसे कैसे आपने decide किया कि मुझे
I
जाना है
think
पढ़ने के लिए? So that
i-
the
i- so. I had family in the US, the UK,
okay,
and
okay,
I'd been abroad, you know, during my school breaks and so
okay,
on. So the idea of studying abroad always fascinated me. Ki, you know,
okay.
get that international exposure, uh,
Right.
and obviously, you know, get to meet so many other people from different cultures. You know, take those blinders off essentially and immerse yourself into the world to see what's actually out there. Uh,
Right.
I mean, yeah, sort of those things essentially persuaded me that, look, yeah, I'd like to study abroad. Like in terms of how I decided my course. Now, I wish I had
Mhm.
someone like EduAbroad back then who guided me in my career counseling. I mean, eh, I just picked and chose essentially. Like I
Right. Okay.
decided I wanted to do engineering at that time. I
Mhm.
did it, but I work in a completely different field now. So uh, that degree still though helped a lot with my logical reasoning. Like
Right.
even studying engineering here, and I had friends in India who were studying engineering degrees as well, right? Like
Mhm.
the system in Australia and the way you learn is quite practical in experience as well. Now there
Right.
was a lot of processes, a lot of equations that I did in school back in India that I essentially just memorized. But when I
Mhm.
started year one, that's when I actually understood what they're doing, what, you know, how force is applied and so on and so on.
And why
So
are they doing?
that's essentially why is it
Yeah.
doing what it's meant
Yeah.
to do.
Why?
uh,
Yeah.
and the way, yeah, they teach you is extremely different to, you know, how education obviously works in India. So that
Mm.
certainly helped a lot with my logical reasoning, my communication skills. There's a lot of group work and group assignments as well, so
Yeah.
essentially helps with team building. So yeah, a lot of those things essentially made the person that I am today.
Right. And it has definitely helped you academically, sorry, professionally as well.
Extremely. So I work. So I've all my professional life I've worked in the higher education industry as well.
Hmm.
So my first real job was at Griffith University as well. So
Okay.
I'm very closely associated to Griffith, emotionally, professionally. All my colleagues, friends, like I post studying, I worked for Griffith for about 13 years. So uh, where I started there professionally while I
Mhm.
was still studying, I started working as an ID card printer. So essentially, a student would
Okay.
come there and I'd print ID cards for them. Uh, and the other beauty of Australia is that when you put in hard work, right, when you give in your 100% and colleagues around you, your managers and everyone see what you're capable of, like it's quite easy to essentially step up into different roles. And when I left Griffith University, I was actually product manager at Griffith University,
Okay.
essentially looking after the entire student experience at Griffith. So all the way from
Mhm.
admissions to graduations, all the systems that the students interact with, I was the product
Okay.
manager owning those systems essentially. Uh,
Yeah.
so
So
my
that's very
education,
interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, sorry, you go.
So that brings actually to my next question. So, okay, for we have students who are interested in going to Australia and study. Say, so what's the admission procedure, if you can, because you have studied at Griffith University, and what is that they look in for a student?
Yeah, so as an international student, I think, and especially from India, I would say 90 to 95% of the applications actually go through agents.
Hmm.
So there's different universities essentially have different application portals, and the
Yes.
agents would, yeah, apply on the student's
Yeah.
behalf. And
Yes.
uh, I mean, in terms of the application process, it's usually just yeah, all your passport details, finances, and all the compliance stuff that's essentially
Yeah.
required.
So any exams are required before they can
Apart
apply?
just English proficiency. So
Yes.
I think back when I was applying, like it was only IELTS and TOEFL. I think now there's a
Mm.
couple of others that they're accepting as well.
Yes. Yeah. So now there's this Pearson test, PTE as well,
Yes,
that they
yeah,
are accepting. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So for students who have joined, so for if you want to study abroad, especially at Australia, so you need to give English proficiency test. So you can either give IELTS, TOEFL, or PT exam. There are quite a few, like one is by Cambridge, and there are quite a few, but most popular are these three only. And I've seen that many students they are preferring PTE because the exam is slightly easier compared to IELTS. So many students, especially who are targeting Australia as their dream destination, then there are a few questions, but whatever questions you have, you can just type it on the chat box, and then we'll come back to them once we are done through with the questions with Parth. Yes, Parth. So, how was your experience with Griffith University? You studied there.
It was
Yeah.
amazing.
So, how's
As
the
I said,
university? Yeah.
yes. So the Griffith campuses, for those who don't know, so in Brisbane they've got 5 different campuses. Well, in Brisbane
Okay.
and Gold Coast. So Gold
Yes.
Coast is another destination which is about an hour's drive south of Brisbane. Gold Coast is
Mm.
essentially the glamorous sister city of
Uh,
Brisbane, with golden sand beaches and all your theme parks and movie worlds. Say Pirates of the Caribbean was actually filmed there as
from
well. So
the-
it's the movie studios, and so they've got a campus in Gold Coast where they do specialized programs like architecture, marine science,
okay.
and a lot of other business engineering programs, civil engineering as well. And then in Brisbane, they've got the Nathan campus, which is surrounded by a beautiful forest. Acres and acres of land. You know, Australia being such a vast continent, there's no scarcity of land. So that's the campus that I went to, which is very close to
Mhm.
Brisbane city. And yeah, beautiful forest surrounds lots of walks. And as a campus, the life on campus is quite buzzing as well. So you get to join so many different associations. So I was back then, I was the president of the Indian Students Association, and I was running that as well. So we used to do movie nights, Indian movie nights. We used to do dinners and so on. So
Mhm.
there's, yeah, the campus life here is, it's quite buzzing.
Yes.
So apart from your studies, which you can do in groups, individually, and so on, you're actually interacting with a lot of other clubs, being members of like different societies and so on as well. Yeah,
So it's quite exciting.
it is. It is.
It
Yeah.
so it is. Okay. Any what were the challenges when you went there from India? So were there any challenges that you really faced, and how were you able to
Absolutely.
cope with them?
I think one of the first challenges I faced was I landed here in the morning, went to the university, and I distinctly and clearly still remember this day, right? Your first day ever where you come
Mm,
abroad to study, and I finished doing all the procedures, collected my forms, like my offer letters and everything, and finished all of that. Came back to my rental apartment at about 6 o'clock, and in the suburb I couldn't see a single person there, like
uh,
not one person, like. And as an Indian, right, where when you're used to seeing heads
it's
everywhere, and you
right.
see a street empty, like empty, and not even a very quiet street, like it's a busy street during the day, and at 6 p.m. it was empty. So that was quite a big culture shock for me. So seeing very
Right.
less people around, and slowly you get
Mm,
used to it, and now when I get back to
used to
India, like
it.
it's so hard for me to cross the road.
Right.
So
Right. Right.
that was one. The other was obviously due to the high international student fees as well. You're also working part time to try and cope for that as well. So balancing your part time work as well as your studies as
Mm,
well as a social life can prove a bit challenging. But essentially, that pressure is what then drives you to succeed. Towards the end
right.
of
Any
your
academic challenges? Because as you also mentioned, there's a huge difference on how we study here and how they teach there. So any
yes.
academic challenges you faced?
Yeah, if you're quite used to essentially just memorizing stuff and then yeah putting it out there, yeah, it's quite different because even the exams sometimes weren't the same as they were in India. So all the questions would be quite different to what you would get from an exercise book, and they'd actually
Mm,
want us to apply the principles more than apply our memorized knowledge. So to get used to a bit of that was a bit of a challenge as well. Initially, I think also socially, right? Like as an international student and someone back then who was a bit shy as well, trying to go and make more friends to essentially form that academic circle to help with studies as well was a bit
mm,
challenging. But the university certainly helps with that, because once they put you like in a group study, in a group uh, assignment or a group environment,
mhm.
you tend to essentially yeah feed off each other then. Yeah.
So, for students who want to go and study there, what's your advice? Whether they should try for Indian, like you've studied engineering there. So, like so many students, they prepare for IITs and such exams or NEET. So, what's your advice for them? Whether they should try and study in India, or they should try and go for Australia or other destinations like USA, UK. So,
I mean,
what's your take on that?
I'd be quite biased, right? Because I've lived here, so and don't get me wrong, like I've got friends who've gone to the US, who've gone to the UK, as well. I think maybe the university life and the social life in the US is probably slightly better, in terms of all the
Okay.
fraternities and things that they've got. But I would say if you look at the longer picture, once you've
Mm,
essentially graduated, and if you plan to live
stay
in
back.
that country where you're actually
Mm,
graduating from, there's probably no place better than Australia at this stage,
Australia.
in terms of it,
Right.
if you're considering outside of India. Yeah,
So there are good universities, good quality of life, and as you said, that people there are family oriented, which is closer to what we experience in India as well. So I think
that's
it's a
it.
very good
That's,
study destination,
yeah,
and especially for students who want to stay back. So it's a very PR friendly place now with, and you get work permit. As I said, now actually you can get work permit of up to 5 to 6 years. So now starting this July 2023. Australia has released a list of skill shortage list that
yeah,
they have released, and if you are studying in one of those areas, then you can actually extend your stay. Work, you will get extra 2 years of work permit, and that list includes almost all the subjects, right, from engineering to business to nursing. That it's a huge list. I think it's of around 3,000 skills. that they have identified skill shortage. So students who want to go there and study, it's a huge opportunity. So part just if like what will be your advice for the students who want to go there and study? If
In
there's
terms of
one piece of advice, and
prepping,
yeah.
I think like, so once you get here, involve yourself into a lot of extracurricular activities as much as you can as well, because I mean, academics is just one component of your entire journey, and that journey is going to finish after 4 years, but or 3 years, depending, or two, depending on the course you take. But essentially, when you immerse yourself in different clubs and different co-curricular activities as well, you'll make a lot of connections apart from your academic group as well, who will essentially stay with you for life as well. Uh, yeah, try and put yourself out there as much as you can. Initially, it's quite hard, especially as an international student, to gather that confidence to go and talk to people. Once you
Right.
get used to it, and once you start doing it, essentially, there's networking can, yeah, get you places where, yeah, nothing else can. So
Yeah. So we have few questions. One is regarding scholarship, that because
sure.
we have also worked at Griffith University, because
Yes.
cost of education there is quite high. Even like living expenses is quite high in Australia. So as you also said that you have to work part time. What's the scholarship scenario there? How easy or difficult is it to get a scholarship, good scholarship?
Sure. So I think scholarships here work a bit differently than other countries in terms, and you can probably correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
because I could be outdated, but essentially, so there's a set of federal government scholarships and state government
Hmm.
scholarships which are quite limited in
Right.
number compared to other
Right.
countries, and then each university
Mm.
has their own set of
Have their
scholarships
own
that,
scholarships.
yeah, that
Yeah.
they're offering, which a few years ago were quite limited for international students, but over the past few years, they've definitely grown in number. And I mean, working at Deloitte right now as well, like I consult for higher education
Okay.
universities, so I know the picture of a few institutions.
Hmm.
One's UNSW, one's Uni of Adelaide, and so on. So each university has certain scholarships, like say 50% of your tuition fee if you maintain a certain GPA.
Great.
Uh, that's right.
Academic
So
grades,
grade point
GPA.
average. Yeah. So there's like
Yeah.
scholarships for excellence. There's
Mm.
academic excellence. There would be some scholarships or discounts offered for like deposit fees when you apply as well, based on your previous academic qualifications as well. Um, and yeah,
Yeah.
essentially those are the ones that I am aware of, where, yeah, they've got like a 50 or a
Yeah.
75%, and then you've got to maintain that certain grade point average throughout your program of study if you want to reap the benefits of that scholarship as well. Yeah.
Right. So there are few organizational scholarship and government scholarships there, and then
That's
there are institutional scholarships where students can apply to the institutions directly before going there. And once they are there, then to maintain those scholarships, they have to get those required grades.
that's it.
So, but scholarships are available for students who want to go there and study. Many scholarships are available, and you can avail. And if you need any guidance regarding that, so our team at EduAbroad can help you with that. So we have another question: what kind of jobs are there are in demand there at the moment?
That's a very broad and hard question to answer,
Yeah.
actually. I mean, I've worked in technology essentially my entire professional career, right? And there's always demand for jobs in technology. There's
Technology.
also health, nursing, doctors.
Right.
Yeah, there's always demand around those as well. I mean, those are the two that I'm aware of from a personal experience, but that obviously shouldn't be translated to like a real scenario as to, yeah, what's more scarce around here. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So Australia, yeah, I'll just pitch in. Well, I'll just add. So nursing, medical, technology, business, even
yeah,
the business schools there, they are really good. And if you look at the return on investment, or on students who are doing MBA from there, that's really good. So all these programs like science, engineering, IT, health, even teaching, is very good. It also has good job opportunity there. So I'll take just another question. Is Australia good for management schools or tech schools? I think it's good for both.
Both. Yeah.
Y- yeah, Parth, I think, what's your take on this? Yeah.
I yeah, that's probably, yeah, I would say it's good for both, like from a personal
Well, yeah.
experience. Yeah, I've known, and the organization that I work for as well, right? So I work for Deloitte now, so I'm essentially a tech lead,
Tech.
but uh, there's a separate pathway for a management consultant pathway as well, where I could be a senior
Mm,
manager on the consulting side of management consulting. So
mhm.
both of them are quite in demand. Both the pathways fill very, very good candidates who've graduated from schools or universities around Australia as well. So I'd say probably both. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So there's this quite this question about racism in Australia.
Yeah.
So yeah, there have been quite a few incidents there. So, but you are staying there for a long
Yeah.
time now.
Yeah. So I
So
can actually answer that very well because
yeah, yeah.
back then when it all started, because that was in 2009 or so on, 2009, 2010. I
Hmm.
was the president of the International Student Association within Queensland, within my state.
Okay.
I was one of the 1,300 students chosen to go and meet the deputy prime minister back then to essentially address these concerns. So
Uh-huh.
we had a 2-day workshop with the deputy prime minister, with the education minister, and I think a couple of cases that were heard and blown out in the
Right.
media back then were, I wouldn't say they were quite racial in nature. They were purely circumstantial.
Hmm.
You'd get there anywhere if you know, at 1 a.m. At a train station where there's no one else around, you
Uh-huh.
could potentially get mugged anywhere.
Marked,
Uh,
right.
and so there was a lot of hearsay essentially in the media back then as well around it. I myself or any of my friends have never ever experienced any sense of racism. uh, and I come from a professional background as well, where I've had Australian bosses, Chinese bosses, where
Hmm.
I've been, you know, managing Australians, Chinese people, Indians, and so on. And yeah, the environment is so multicultural. Everyone respects each other. There's absolutely no sense of, you know, that racism, or not
Yeah.
even that feeling, yeah, anywhere around here. Yeah.
So
They
they
and
are
they
just
anything, if
exceptions.
yeah, even if uh, a joke is made at your workplace as well, right? Like it's taken very seriously. So like we joke around, you know, amongst Australians, Indians, and so on, and
Mhm.
we have that normal banter. But your workplace as well, like you need to do a lot of training when you start working anywhere about bullying and
Mhm.
harassment and so on, and racism is never taken lightly. Like it's instilled in you right from day dot that yeah, you're not supposed to be doing any of that. And if even comments are made which are racial in nature, it's taken very seriously. Yeah.
Okay. So because this is quite a concern, especially with parents when they come
Yeah.
and meet us. So that's and actually we'll share your viewpoint with them because you've stayed there for so long. So this question is here: do universities in Australia recognize the 10+2+3 schooling system? Do
I'm
you want
not
to
too sure
answer
about
this?
that.
Or?
Uh,
Yeah, yeah. So it's acceptable. Even 10+2 even is acceptable, and 10+2+3, the undergraduate system that we have, it's acceptable in Australia. So just completing your bachelor's, you can go and do your master's there. It's acceptable. So there's another question: what type of part-time job, what type part-time work opportunities are available for international students in Australia, and how many hours can anyone work there? So how many hours? So I think it's 20 hours per week.
that's right.
That's
Yeah.
allowed,
During
right? And
during your study
you
periods,
study
and
period,
when you're
right?
on break, then you can work full time essentially. So
Full time.
between semesters, yeah.
And roughly they pay you around $15, $20 per hour.
Well, now the minimum
Mm,
wage is around $23 from memory.
trend. Wow. So
Yeah,
that's
so
decent.
yeah,
Uh,
and that is if you decide not to work like cash in hand, which you probably shouldn't. But yeah,
mm,
still a few students do that. But yeah, if you and there's plenty of work available. Like there's admin work, there's work in restaurants, hospitality, especially since COVID. Like the economy has essentially shot up like crazy, but
mhm.
the number of people aren't actually meeting that requirement as well. So there's
Mm,
jobs available in hospitality, as well as
right.
admin work quite a bit. Yeah,
So part-time jobs are available, and you get a decent uh,
it's yeah. A
salary.
lot of
Part-time,
students
yeah,
also choose to
stipend.
now drive, like to deliver like Uber Eats and things like that,
Hmm.
and that's also that also pays you significantly more compared to it would than it would in India.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so
So there's
Zomato
another
equivalent
question.
essentially.
Is
Yeah.
right. Right. So I think we have answered this question. There's this question: what English language tests are acceptable for Australian student visa? So they accept all these tests: IELTS, PTE, and even TOEFL. They are all acceptable. So yeah, I think that's it with the questions as well. So before we wrap up, I'll just request all those who have joined to fill the Google form mentioned in the chat, and do comment if you have any other questions. And our mentors will try and reach out to you if there are any more questions. So just to wrap up, before we wrap up, part any advice for the students or your tips for how to apply to these universities,
I think, yeah,
Australian universities?
try and think about what you want to study, not just from the point of view of what's going to be easy for you, but essentially, consult in terms of what has a better career outcome, what you're interested towards as well when you finish study, and what field would you like to work in. So yeah, try and base your journey and academic decisions around that. And essentially, as I said before, when you come here, just be open, be quite proactive in reaching out to people, making networks. Networking essentially as an international student is probably your biggest uh, helper that you've got to carry you through your journey of studying, as well as post that as well. Yeah.
Right. So just to conclude, Australia, as we discussed with Parth, it's an excellent study destination for students who want to go there. There are some very good universities and private universities as well where you can go and study. Quality of life is very good. Getting admission comparatively is easier because they have pathway programs. So students who are lacking in their academic profile or even in English language, some students they face difficulty in clearing IELTS or PTE. So there are pathways for English as well as academic. So you have to study for maybe extra 2-3 months, and then you can start your regular study. So and then it's a very PR friendly country, a and a very good destination for students who want to go there. So if you need any help on how to study in Australia, what's the procedure, how to apply, so you can contact us at EduAbroad. Our contact details have been shared with you. So you can get in touch with us. We have offices across India as well. You can visit our centers. So thank you so much, Parth, for joining us today. It was a really we got a great insight into Australia. And
No worries
thank
at
you,
all. It's
all
my
of you, for
pleasure.
joining us today. Have a lovely day.
Right. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you for
thank you.
having me.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thanks.
Thank you. Our pleasure. Bye-bye. Bye.